We're pleased to be joined by Michael Rubin of the American Enterprise Institute. Michael, also the author of the book, Dancing with the Devil, The Perils of Engagement. We get a look at the book cover there, and now we get a good look at our friend Michael Rubin. And Michael, we ask you to take a look at American foreign policy. Would you agree with Waleed Phares that currently, when it comes to dealing with terrorism, we're on the track to appeasement instead of engagement?
I would agree. Just look at it this way. When the biggest victory we have is that the White House calls an attack terrorism rather than workplace violence, then we don't have too much to pat ourselves on the back over.
Well, even when the administration uses the term terror, curiously absent from its collective lexicon is any mention of Islamic extremists. So by that, with the failure to actively describe or accurately describe the perpetrators of terror, in that sense, is this administration AWOL in the fight against terrorism?
Absolutely. And this administration wants to think that terrorism is motivated by grievance. Therefore, with diplomats, you can sit down, you can give incentives or aid, and terrorism will go away. And that's like believing in unicorns. The fact of the matter is, terrorism is motivated, at least Islamist terrorism is motivated by ideology. There's no appeasing it away. And until we recognize we're engaged in a battle of ideology, we're lost. It's almost as if the terrorists are playing checkers and Obama is playing solitaire back at the White House. That's not the way to win.
Well, our Attorney General was in France over the weekend. He was not at that unity rally, but he did take time to talk with George Stephanopoulos and the folks at ABC's This Week, and he tried to clarify the American position. Let's take a listen, then we'll get your reaction.
At war with those who would commit terrorist attacks and who would corrupt the Islamic faith in the way that they do to try to justify their terrorist actions. So that's who we are at war with. And we are determined to take the fight to them, to prevent them from engaging these kinds of activities.
Could that be considered, Michael, a red letter moment, if you will, where General Holder actually mentions the term Islamic in his answer?
You know, it looked like he was trying to perform intellectual somersaults to avoid mentioning the I word, but this is the irony. Holder and Obama may believe that they are acting sensitively, that they are trying to be politically correct, but never forget that the greatest number of victims of radical Islam are moderate Muslims. And what Holder and Obama are doing is betraying the not only Christians and Jews, but moderate Muslims when they pretend that the terrorism we see in Paris and elsewhere has nothing to do with interpretations of the Quran, which are put forward by legitimate Islamic clerics. It's time we start defining religion not as what a diplomat or a Harvard academic says it is, but what its practitioners believe it to be. They're the ones whose opinion matters most.
Michael, a minute remains in this segment. If you were advising the administration, if there's one thing that this administration could do today, what would you recommend?
You know, I think what Charlie Hebdo did was on the track. What you have to do is engage in satire, engage in ridicule, engage in the battle of ideas, engage in the battle of theology. Stop apologizing, put moderate clerics up top, but not only moderate clerics. Why should imams represent American Muslims? Why not have people like Zuhdi Jasser, who is a deeply conservative believing Muslim who doesn't apologize for terrorism, or Zainab al-Suwaid? We've got to stop apologizing.
Fair enough. Michael Rubin, we're going to ask you to stay through the break, and when we return, we'll discuss the initiative we heard about from Congressman Walter Jones, the call for declassifying 28 pages of the 9/11 report. More with Michael Rubin as we continue here on America's Forum. Stay with us.